There's a moment I will never forget. About 5 years ago, I was visiting my friend, an old farmer named Bill. It was early spring, the sun was barely up, and I found him at the back of his barn, hands buried in a wooden crate filled with seed trays. The smell of damp soil filled the air as he gently pressed each seed into the soil, taking his time.
I asked him how he always seemed to grow such healthy, strong plants, while everyone else struggled with their seedlings.
He looked up at me with a slight smile and said something that stuck with me. It's not about what you put in the soil, it's about how you treat it before you even start. At that moment, I realized that starting seeds wasn't just about having good seeds or even good soil. It was about knowing the right steps to take before the planting even begins. The secret Bill had known for years, that took me far too long to learn, was this. The old way of starting seeds, that almost never fails, isn't a technique you can easily buy.
It's about patience, timing, and a methodical approach that has been passed down through generations of farmers.
Today, I'm going to show you exactly what Bill does that makes his seedlings thrive. No expensive equipment, no high-tech gadgets, just old-fashioned wisdom. Stick with me to the end, because I'll share a simple step that most gardeners miss when starting their seeds that could make all the difference for you. I'll be honest with you. For years, I did everything wrong when it came to starting my seeds. I thought I had it figured out. I followed the basic instructions from seed packets, bought the best compost, and used the same trays and pots that everyone recommended. Yet every spring, I would find myself dealing with weak, leggy seedlings, or worse, nothing sprouting at all. I was following the rules, but something always went wrong. I remember the first time I attempted to start my seeds indoors. I got all excited, bought every possible variety, and carefully planted them in neat rows in my trays. I was sure this would be the year I'd have a thriving garden. But when it was time to transplant, my seedlings were barely big enough to handle. Some had stretched so tall they looked like they were begging for sunlight. Weak, floppy, and completely unprepared for life outside. Others had barely sprouted. I've invested time, money, and effort, but my seeds seemed to fail at every turn. For the longest time, I didn't understand why it was happening. I asked around, tried different techniques, and got conflicting advice. Some said I should be starting them earlier. Others said I was watering too much or not enough. And when it came to temperature, well, that was a whole other mystery. Too cold, too hot. It felt like there were a million things to get wrong. No matter how many times I tried, I kept failing. Then, one afternoon, I met Bill. He was a retired farmer, well into his 70s, and had a garden that made mine look like a patch of dirt. His seedlings were always perfect. I asked him about his secret, and instead of launching into some complex gardening jargon, he just laughed and said, "You're overthinking it." For the first time, I realized that maybe the approach I was using was wrong. Success didn't come from doing everything by the book, but by truly listening to what the plants needed. Bill helped me see that gardening wasn't about rigid rules, it was about flexibility and observation. He talked about timing, how some seeds, like peppers and tomatoes, need a longer growing season, while others, like beans, thrive when started later. He showed me how to feel the soil, how to gauge the temperature, and most importantly, how to not rush things. Since then, I've made a point of giving my seeds more time to develop and more attention to their individual needs. I stopped overwatering and learned to let the soil dry out between waterings. I started seeds later in the season, when the ground was warmer. The secret isn't about using the perfect products. It's about understanding what plants need, being patient, and letting nature do its work. It wasn't until I spent a full day in Bill's garden that everything clicked for me. I watched him go about his process with such ease. He wasn't using anything fancy or special, just a method that had been passed down through generations. Bill showed me how to assess the soil's health, not just by its texture, but by its life. He dug his hands into the soil, feeling for warmth. "You want your soil to breathe," he said. "If it's too dense or too wet, it's not healthy. You can't force it to grow. you have to coax it. He emphasized building up the soil with compost every year, giving the garden a little more consistently over time. Over time, the soil becomes a self-sustaining ecosystem. That's when I started to see how powerful this method was. Bill never relied solely on artificial lights. He placed his seedlings in windows where natural light could gradually build their strength. Instead of controlling every aspect of growth, he nurtured the environment that allowed the seeds to grow strong on their own. By simply observing, understanding, and giving nature the space to work, I was finally able to start seeds that almost never failed. The first step in Bill's method for starting seeds is the most important one: preparing the soil. This isn't about quick fixes. It's about setting up a foundation. Compost is the key to healthy soil. Bill uses well-aged compost, preferably a mix of plant-based and animal manure compost. Animal manure provides a rich source of nutrients and helps promote a healthy soil microbiome, which is essential for strong seedling development. The process begins a few weeks before planting. Bill spreads about 2 to 3 inches of compost across his garden beds. He then works it into the top 4 to 6 inches of the soil. This helps the nutrients penetrate deep, giving your seedlings a strong start. The key here is not just working in compost once. It's about consistently improving the soil over time. Bill adds fresh compost every year. Healthy soil has a balanced mixture of microorganisms, earthworms, and fungi that help plants absorb nutrients, water, and oxygen more effectively. Bill doesn't need to rely on chemical fertilizers or pesticides because his soil does the heavy lifting for him. The stronger the soil, the healthier the plants. You want your soil to be loose and well-draining. If your soil is compacted, your seeds won't have enough room to grow strong roots. Incorporating compost helps to loosen it up and create a structure that allows water and air to reach the roots more easily. So, here's what you do. Start early, about 2 to 3 weeks before the last frost. Then, work it into the top 4 to 6 inches. Add nutrients like aged manure if you have it. And finally, be consistent. Repeat this process every year. By setting the stage with healthy soil, you give your seeds the best chance at success. This step is the foundation for everything that follows. Once your soil is prepped and ready, the next step in Bill's method is all about creating the right environment for your seeds to thrive. This part of the process requires careful attention to temperature, light, and moisture. The way you handle these elements can make all the difference. Step 2. Temperature control. When starting seeds, temperature plays a critical role in germination. If the temperature is too cold, your seeds won't sprout. Too hot, and they may dry out or burn before they even have a chance to take root. For years I fought against the cold, not realizing that I was simply out of sync with the natural rhythm of the season. Bill has a simple solution for this. He uses seed-starting heat mats for his indoor plants. These mats provide consistent, gentle warmth to the seed trays, mimicking the natural soil temperature that seeds would experience in spring. Inside the greenhouse, the moisture and warmth create a microclimate that protects the delicate life hidden beneath the soil. However, if you're starting seeds outdoors or in a greenhouse, the key is to plant only when the soil temperature is right. Bill never rushes this process. He waits for the weather to align with the needs of the seeds. He uses a soil thermometer to measure the temperature accurately. For many common vegetables, the soil temperature should be between 60–75 degrees Celsius. By starting seeds at the right temperature, you encourage faster and more uniform germination. Preparation isn't just about the soil. It's about making sure every environmental advantage is maximized for the young plants. Step 3. Light and hardening off. Once your seeds are planted, the next crucial element is light. While it may seem intuitive to think that more light equals better growth, too much direct sunlight at first can actually stress out young seedlings. Bill places his seedlings near a window with natural sunlight, but makes sure they aren't exposed to the harsh midday sun. If you are starting your seeds indoors and have limited natural light, Bill recommends using grow lights. These lights mimic the sunlight and help young seedlings grow strong and straight, preventing them from becoming leggy. The goal is to have 14 to 16 hours of light each day, with the lights positioned a few inches above the seedlings. Once your seedlings are strong enough to go outside, Bill uses a process called hardening off. This means gradually exposing your seedlings to outdoor conditions, first in the shade, then a little more sun each day. The wind and the changing air are the final tests for a plant's resilience. It's a journey from the shelf to the soil. Gradually increase the sun exposure until they can fully handle the elements. This slow transition helps prevent shock. It ensures your seedlings are strong enough to handle wind, rain, and temperature fluctuations. No quick fixes, just patience. By following these steps, you're not just planting seeds, you're creating a thriving environment where they can grow into resilient plants. Combining Bill's techniques of temperature control and proper light will give you the best foundation for seeds that almost never fail. His approach is about long-term thinking, not quick fixes. In the next part, we'll dive into the science of watering. Watering your seeds correctly is another key component of their success. It's a science that most gardeners overcomplicate. Bill never uses a hose to water his seedlings, which can often drench the soil too quickly and lead to uneven moisture levels. Instead, he waters gently with a watering can or a soaker hose, applying water directly at the base of the plants. The goal is to avoid getting the leaves wet. This simple technique reduces the risk of fungal diseases. A soaker hose allows the soil to absorb water more evenly and deeply, reaching the roots where it's needed most. One important tip Bill taught me is to water deeply but infrequently. This is the opposite of what most people do. Deep watering encourages roots to grow deeper into the soil in search of moisture, which makes them incredibly resilient. Overwatering, on the other hand, can cause the roots to stay near the surface and become vulnerable to drying out. Plants with shallow roots suffer during hot spells, but Bill's method establishes a solid foundation for the future. A simple rule to follow is to check the soil moisture by sticking your finger into the soil. If the top inch feels dry, it's time to water. This ensures you're not overdoing it and drowning the delicate roots. Take watering, for example. Most people water their seedlings every day, often on a schedule. It's easy to assume that regular watering is the best way to go, but a schedule doesn't listen to what the plants actually need. Bill's method of watering deeply and infrequently makes all the difference. It's about building strength from the bottom up. Bill's method teaches the roots to grow deep, establishing a solid foundation for the plant's entire future. Most gardeners treat symptoms, reacting to problems once they appear. Bill's method addresses the root cause from the start. His approach is about long-term thinking, not quick fixes, and that's why his seedlings almost never fail. In the next part, we'll dive into the Amish secret weapon. Here's something I picked up from Bill that most gardening books don't mention, but it's been a game changer for me. It's a simple technique that, while it might seem like an afterthought, actually plays a huge role in seedling success, using cardboard collars. The Amish have been using this method for generations, and after trying it myself, I can say it really works. Essentially, it involves placing a cardboard tube around the base of each seedling right after planting. The collar creates a physical barrier that protects young plants from pests like cutworms. Cutworms are notorious for snipping through tender stems at the soil line, but this barrier stops them cold. It also provides some crucial insulation against the elements during those first unpredictable weeks. The beauty of this technique is that it's completely natural and sustainable. You're not introducing any chemicals. As the plant grows, the cardboard naturally decomposes, leaving nothing but healthy, established plants behind. It's a no-cost solution to a common gardening problem. It costs nothing but a bit of effort. I went from losing 5-8 seedlings every spring to almost none. It's a small change that makes a big impact. If any of these tips have changed how you think about starting your seeds, I'd love to hear about it. The Amish method has shown me that with a little patience and the right mindset, you can create a self-sustaining garden. It's about understanding nature's rhythm, working with it, and allowing your plants the best conditions to thrive. Remember, gardening isn't about using the most expensive equipment or following every trend. It's about wisdom. That's the true lesson Bill taught me. And that's the approach that has made my seedlings stronger than I ever thought possible. By simply observing and giving nature the space to work, we find the true secret to success. In the final part, we'll wrap up everything we've learned and share one last bonus step that Bill swears by. Stay with me as we finish this journey toward a garden that almost takes care of itself. If any of these tips have changed how you think about starting your seeds, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I know firsthand how frustrating it can be when your seeds don't take off, but trust me, success is just small adjustments away. By preparing your soil properly and watering with care, you can dramatically improve your seed starting success. The Amish method has shown me that with a little patience and the right mindset, you can create a garden that almost takes care of itself. Remember, gardening isn't about using the most expensive equipment or following every trend. It's about understanding nature's rhythm. It's about working with nature and allowing your plants the best conditions to thrive. That's what makes all the difference. And if you've been struggling with seed starting in the past, I'm confident that by following these steps, you'll start seeing stronger, healthier seedlings. I'd also like to encourage you to subscribe to my channel for more gardening wisdom and tips. I'm constantly learning new techniques and sharing what works, and I'd love for you to be part of this community. If you found these tips helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who could benefit. And remember, the more we learn from each other, the better our gardens and our growing seasons will be. So, what do you think? Which of these techniques are you going to try first in your own garden? I can't wait to hear your experiences, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Happy gardening! May your seedlings grow strong and your harvest be plenty. See you next time.